Hello, everyone. I'm a first generation college graduate, the first in my family to attend college. I was born and raised in a small rural town in India with less than 2,000 residents. So, access to education, as you can imagine, was extremely limited. However, despite neither of my parents having a college education, they instill in me the belief that education is the key to success and making a difference, a philosophy I have carried with me throughout my life. So, that being said, my journey started with first a bachelor's degree and then a master's degree in pharmacy, serving as stepping stones toward my dream of conducting advanced research in ophthalmic pharmacology, which was my area of interest at that time, drug delivery, and therapeutic interventions. However, the lack of resources, which were none at that time for me, initially posed a huge challenge for my pursuit. Fate took a fortuitous turn, I would say, when I met Dr. Nicholas Bodor, the Hall of Fame researcher from Florida and inventor of the decade, which was awarded to him last year by Florida. I met him in India at an international convention, and then I expressed my desire to work under him and under his tutelage. He graciously, accepted and provided me opportunity to pursue my doctoral degree at the University of Florida program. It took about 3 attempts to obtain my visa to come to the United States. And like many international graduate students, I faced common challenges, such as moving into a new country, language barriers, homesickness, of course, and navigating the cultural trains and the.
Dr. Reddy, I think you accidentally got muted.
Dr. Reddy, you're muted, sir. We can't hear you. Sorry, for about a few seconds.
I don't know why it's happening at my end. My hands are free.
Sorry.
No problem. So I don't know where I was cut off, but reflecting on my journey up until this point was, it was tortuous. Encountered numerous challenges and obstacles, and many helped me along the way. Any success I've achieved in my career over the years can be attributed to 3 P's. Let me sum it up for you. The first P is passion. I would say passion is irreplaceable. There is no substitute for it. But the second P is purpose. Passion without purpose is meaningless. It's like a rebel without a clue, right? So you need to have a purpose. And then the final P is perseverance. In the face of challenges, it is crucial to persist, be resilient, and then never give up. So in closing, pursue your dreams relentlessly as if there is no tomorrow. And remember that success happens when preparation meets opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Reddy. Dr. Fang?
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mahato. Happy Friday to everyone. Just a quick disclosure. Everything I'm sharing is just representing my own view and experience. Nothing really reflecting the policy operations of my current and previous institutions. So I'm also the first generation, first doctor in my family, and I got my undergrad from Nanjing University in China, and my PhD of cell molecular physiology from Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences. But I got my PharmD at Albany College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. While working as a postdoc at Stony Brook, actually, as a hobby, I also got my Master of Computer Science. So I just want to share with everyone, education to me, as Dr. Reddy shared, actually is the pathway, launched our career, like helped us to, like identify the opportunity and fulfill our dreams. I want to share, we all have humble beginning. When I came to this country after my PhD, everyone know as a pro PhD student, I only have $100 I borrowed from my friends, came to this country. And for the first 3 months, actually, because of the paperwork was not ready, I don't have paycheck. So that's kind of, starting experience, how I started here. But I want to say, look back, I feel like all this humble beginning actually is a great experience for us to remember our dream and to take action, like act on the dream. And also once we fulfill the dream, how we, give back to the society, give back to the community and help others to launch their career, fulfill their dream. So I want to share, in this country, this is a country full of miracles. Everything is possible as long as you have a dream, fulfill your dream, take actions, take ownership, take pride. So when I started my postdoc at SUNY at Stony Brook, 1996, I was very lucky when I finished my PhD program. I feel like the decision is so critical. At that time, I got 3 offers, one from NIH, one from SUNY at Stony Brook Medical School, another one from London University, King's College. At that time, I decided to pursue my postdoc fellowship at SUNY at Stony Brook Medical School, is because of my mentors, both of them, they're physicians, and they are very specialized in translational research. And to me, actually, I want to kind of translate my ideas, my passion in research into patient care. So that's why I, end up with my mentors at Stony Brook Department of Dermatology with Dr. Richard Clark and Dr. Marsha Tonnison. Both of them provided a tremendous mentorship and opportunity for me. So as a postdoc, I feel like I'm a person always look up to my mentors and identify opportunities. They're my role models. So I just feel like, okay, pure research bench work, it's not my final goal. And I want to also get some more clinical experience so I can integrate my bench work with the patient care. That's why, I later went to pharmacy school, got my PharmD degree. During the postdoc training, I feel like opportunity actually is everywhere, but you have to be the one take initiative. I remember my second year actually, in the American Foundation for Investigative Dermatology, they have some fellowship. And usually this kind of new investigator fellowship is for residents or for junior faculty members. I talked to my mentor, I said, Dr. Clark, I want to give a try. And he said, why not? So I basically submitted an application and was very lucky. I got that fellowship, and later actually being appointed a faculty position at Stony Brook because of the fellowship, and then got an opportunity to submit more grants. So another thing I want to share about the dream, when I graduated from pharmacy school, just like Dr. Reddy, went to international and national conference, start to interact with the coworkers. That's the time I met with our founding president for California North State University. At that time, it's just an idea. He saw my CV and he said, Dr. Fan, you are the one we have been looking for a long time with the research, pharmacy practice experience, teaching experience, and future potential administrative, talents. So he said, you're the one we're going to launch our dream and start a pharmacy school. So that's how we started California North State University College of Pharmacy. I quit my job within 1 week of our encounter, and my wife almost divorced me and said I was crazy. But I taught him, as a clinician, I can cure, patient individually one by one. But as an educator, I can change the, pharmacy practice generation after generation. So that's how we launched the California North State University College of Pharmacy. And later, based on the pharmacy school, now we have medical school, dental school, graduate school, College of Health Sciences, College of Clinical Psychology, and now we're launching our nursing school.
Sorry,
so that's basically a humble experience I want to share. Thank you, everyone.
Sorry about that. Thank you very much for sharing, Dr. Fang. I think we're out of time for me to share my personal story, so I'll make it very quick. I actually am a pharmacist. I was trained in India. I got my bachelor's of pharmacy degree from a top-ranked school in India called Hamdard University College of Pharmacy. And then I came to the United States and did my 2 master's degrees and my PhD from St. John's University. And I went on to do my postdoctoral research work at the NYU School of Medicine. I started my work in pharmacy. I've been in academia for about 18 to 19 years now. And I've worked at different schools of pharmacy across the United States. I think I will shorten my piece by talking about one of the main things that I felt that when I reflect on my growth, and my growth was from a molecular pharmacologist trained in research lab to a pharmacy educator, and then eventually to basically someone who helps guide a lot of education work in pharmacology. I feel that one thing that I could have benefited from at various stages is a good amount of career guidance. At every step, when I was going to take the next step in my career, I felt that there were not that many resources available to me as an international pharmacologist, both from the perspectives of how to actually understand the cultural norms in the United States, how to understand the types of positions, how to navigate, salary conversations, how to negotiate salary conversations, how to actually understand what's the next step in my growth professionally and personally. And so many different aspects of even including things such as how to write a CV and how to tell my story in a coherent, cohesive manner. So that is going to be one of the themes that I will concentrate on, particularly for people who are in the path of going from graduate students to postdoctoral fellowships to those who are looking for junior faculty positions. And before I move on, I just want to comment on the word alien in today's title. So the word alien is actually something that I have felt very strongly about. When I came to the United States, of course, many of you may know, some of you who have not gone through this route may not know, that the United States categorizes anyone who is not a green card holder or a citizen as an alien. So I'm very proud to have entered this country as an alien and now to be a little bit more human, having become an American citizen. So I think it's a bit of a reflection on the change in times and cultures that some of this verbiage is still sticking around, and how much contribution has come from international scientists to the US community. At this time, I'm going to summarize some of the themes that you have heard have come up. I'll be very quick about this because we want to go to the panel discussion and open it up to audiences for an interaction. So I think some of the themes that we've touched upon are acculturation challenges for people coming into the United States. And this would be going into any country, of course. If I were to travel to China tomorrow, I would be very much, out of bounds, would not know the language or the culture or even pedagogy or the style of graduate mentoring. So those are some of the challenges that many of us have faced in our careers. There were other logistical challenges: how to apply for the visa process, how to apply for green cards, when to apply for citizenship, how does that affect your ability to work in a laboratory? In one of the places where I worked, there were some negative experiences around how these individuals were on visas, and they were expected to work different shifts than other people who were not. There were conversations about salaries, and to use the NIH salary scale, which many research PIs now currently feel doesn't support a standard of living within really big cities in the United States, perhaps New York City or Chicago or elsewhere. So those are some of the common themes there. And then, of course, we want to take a look at how could one help breach ground and help people who are coming in for the first time. So what are some of the strategies? We will be looking at community engagement and others. So with that summary slide, I'm going to actually launch into the webinar for today. I'm going to start by talking about this topic, and I'm going to then invite comment. Again, in terms of time, I'm going to make this a little bit briefer than I was originally intending. So first up, we'd like to talk about the strategies that can be used to overcome some of the challenges that are faced by international pharmacologists and international scientists in the United States. I briefly talked about in the previous slide how salary parity is an important, obviously a very important aspect for job security, for security, personal and professional and psychological safety of the individual who's going through all these life changes. So salary parity is important. And of course, the NIH, National Institutes of Health, have issued many guidelines. There are different salary structures. Some of these obviously come from grants. Some of these are paid by the institutions, particularly for graduate students or for postdoctoral fellows, or even for starting junior faculty. So the question is, should there be a national standard? There are some guidelines, but those guidelines, how much we can actually have basically a decent life or decent living, especially if people are in a living situation, or they have children, or they have dependents. How does that work, especially when the environment is that of a big city? So one of the things that I want to put forward today, and we would love to hear your comments in chat, and we will open up the dialogue in a moment, is one idea that we're sharing with you is probably professional advocacy, and also really coming through professional identity. So I think this is the time for the entire nation to take a look at pharmacologists who are employed across various diverse fields. What is the professional identity of these pharmacologists? How does that professional identity develop as they move on with their careers? So what we would like to say here is that perhaps one way to advocate for this is through professional organizations. Of course, we are here in ASPET. There are many other professional organizations. It is time to probably have a conversation regarding salary parity, regarding all the other difficulties that international pharmacologists may face in that space. So at this time, I'm going to invite my other speakers and invite you, the audience, to please put in a couple of comments in the chat, and then we will resume regular time with the following slide. Dr. Reddy.
Oh, great intro for the topic. So there are a number of cues on the slide, but I'll pick one of that really near and dear to me, the supporting the integration and success of immigrant pharmacologists. The question is, how do we do that, right? So this can be done in various ways. Recognition of foreign credentials, there are international, I think there is a WES, World Education Services, the US based, the one which most of our universities, public universities in particular, uses is NACES, National Association of Credential Evaluation Services, which we use routinely. There's also mentorship programs. I think a lot of alien students, people who come, they probably may not be aware, but I think a mentorship program, guidance on navigating local healthcare, for example, obtaining the Social Security card, understanding the professional norms, and every program, every culture has got their own nuances, and that was one of the things that I had to go through and understand. And I will elaborate at a later time as needed, and help build your network. I think those are some of the things, and also language support. And I would say certainly not so much for communication, but professional communications, right? That's a big difference, how you communicate, colloquially or casually, but also how you communicate professionally with your network, with your colleagues, to set your message across. So there are a lot of professional development opportunities on our campuses, and I want to encourage our participants to look into that, and most importantly, look for community integration programs. I'm telling you, they're huge. It'll be huge opportunity missed if you don't delve into community. There are so many community action projects. Now, most of our schools have co-curricular activities, which allows us to engage with our students. So certainly I would encourage our alien communities to get into those, so that you develop a sense of belonging, right? And you make an impact in your communities. and finally, health and well-being and support for those kinds of things. It's huge. At A&M, every program is committed to providing wellness and well-being, and in fact, it's a priority, a strategic priority in most of our colleges and schools. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. Dr. Fang?
Thank you. I think most of the audience here, actually, you already have the first step. You become a member of ASPECT and also takes the initiative, try to get more mentorship from the organization and from the leaders in the community and in the profession. As Dr. Reddy already shared, it's great to integrate into the community, into the institution, and into the profession. I feel like it's critical for the international students and scholars take that ownership and pride. Doesn't matter your degree is from a foreign country or is from US. Eventually, what matters is how you can contribute to the profession, how you contribute to the research. So that's why I want to, encourage all the international students and scholars really be proud of your culture, be proud of your root, and particularly, remember your passion and life actually, we're going to encounter a lot of difficulties. So it's how you basically appreciate the life experience and leverage all the resource to launch your career, to launch your dream. So that's why, take opportunity to join all the organizations and participate in the community surveys and be a member of the community, be a citizen. So integrate with the community. Language is a tool, and it doesn't matter how wonderful, your language skills. If you're not utilizing this tool to serve the community, to basically present your work, and it just not really fulfill the function as a language. So I feel like as an international student scholar, we're bilingual, with all these talents, you can serve bigger audience, bigger community. So just use this instead of a disadvantage, treat it as an advantage. You have more tools to serve, more tools to communicate. At the same time, I strongly encourage, as I shared during the introduction, be bold to lead and be a good team member, but doesn't mean you always follow. And when you see the opportunity, you want to offer, your opinions, you want to offer your experience, expertise, and take the opportunity to lead. That's how you can, stand up and be the leader and make more contributions and help other, junior faculty members or students to launch their career, to embark on the journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fang. So at this time, I'm going to look for the ASPECT moderators. Are there any questions for the panel from the audience?
Hi, everybody. Just a reminder, if you've got questions for our panel, to use that little Q&A box that's in the bottom toward the middle if you're on a laptop, maybe somewhere else if you're on a phone. But while we're waiting for those to come in, I will ask a question just based on things that I've heard from some of our international members, especially our trainee members. So we all know that coming to a big research conference is a great way to network and a fairly standardized way to network in the scientific community. But what advice would you give to people looking to network outside that sort of construct? So they may not have the funds to attend a major meeting. They may have family responsibilities that prevent that. Do you have any advice for networking sort of outside that structure?
It's a great question, Melissa. There are so many, since COVID, we learned there are so many other ways we can engage in our communities. And I think there are so many platforms available now than ever before to engage. So I think a lot of professional associations and organizations also have expanded their avenues and opportunities for international or alien scholars to participate in online chats that are very specific to like a targeted and focus groups. So yeah, there are many of those that comes to my mind. That's my first shot.
I just echo what Dr. Reddy shared. I feel like, again, you have to take action first. So from my personal experience, my first conference actually is in Germany. And at that time, we have limited budget. It's very expensive trip. But I just try to apply for the travel, like a scholarship from the conference. And once they gave me the travel scholarship, I also, wrote a very nice letter with a letter of support from my department chair. And they also waived the registration fee, everything. So that's how my mentor, agreed to support me to go to that conference. And in that conference, I find out more opportunities and then start to apply, the grants and some other opportunities. So I feel like everything started with the first experience. So you just take your action, give a try. There's no guarantee, your action will be rewarded. But if you try, you already have 50% chance. So just take the initiative, give a try.
Thank you very much. So I think in the interest of time, we're probably going to move on to the next section. But just to summarize, I think you heard the ideas: become a part of a professional organization, maybe within your home country, and maybe through that you can lead off to professional organizations in the United States or wherever you want to work. Look out to your mentors and guides for help and letters of recommendation. Also form a strong network, a support system within your community. And with that, we're going to move on to the second aspect. The next question that we will discuss about is acculturation. So when you obviously come to any new country like the United States, there is a lot you need to learn about the culture, but I don't only mean the culture on the streets. I mean like organizational culture of institutions. I mean that how do you promote yourself within that culture? How do you learn about your career? So I'm going to actually stay away from this for a moment because I think we're going to run out of time. So I'm going to invite both the panelists, Dr. Reddy and Dr. Feng, to share their opinions on certain strategies for acculturation.
Let me just go ahead and start this topic. So I feel like, as I mentioned earlier, we should be proud of our culture, and this is what make United States great. Is we have all this diversity and a different culture. For me, actually, even when I was a postdoc, I was very involved in the community and involved in the local weekend school to teach the youth about the language, the culture. And then later, once started my career at California North State University, I also become the president for local, Sacramento Chinese Culture Foundation, and start to build the health fair to integrate the alternative medicine from foreign countries with Western medicine. It's extremely successful, become signature event in the capital. So this is just some example. The culture is not like, this is something I feel comfortable. You want to integrate the culture and bring your own culture with a new perspective and then serve bigger community, let more people know about your culture and also be proud of your culture, but at the same time respect the new culture, in this country, and then make your own contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fang. So one aspect of this could also be learning about the organizational structure, the infrastructure where you're working, whether you're working as a postdoc or you're working, for example, as a junior faculty member, understanding the culture that is in place within, for example, your lab, understanding that the way that the workflow occurs within your lab, the way decisions are made within your lab, and the way that you can advocate for yourself through your work within your lab, or of course extending that to organizational culture. So of course all organizations, educational institutions set up for research is different in every country. So networking integrating yourself into affiliation groups. For example, you may be a part of an Indian postdoctoral group. You may be a part of an Indian junior faculty group. You may be a part of an LGBTQIA community affinity group. So leveraging those affinity groups to understand the organizational structure that you're embedded in, at the same time to really understand how you can leverage those relationships to further your particular career. I think that could be one other interesting way of acculturation. One other thing that I want to talk about very quickly is that if the United States is quite different from some of the other countries where there are a lot of legal procedures in place. So most universities that bring in younger faculty or bring in, junior faculty, or younger individuals would provide legal training. And I think that's another aspect that is often ignored. To understand how to work in this very diverse melting pot of cultures, one needs to make sure that one understands the laws of the states and the federal laws. So another part of acculturation is really understanding, the backdrop in which we're working. Now, with that, I think because of time, I'm going to, at this moment, open up the floor to see if there are any questions about strategies for acculturation, and then we'll move forward to a different topic. So I will take a quick look at the questions. I think most of the questions we're getting are about specific positions, so I will come to them a little bit later. But with that, I'm going to move on to the next topic we want to open up. Just make sure my slide deck is operating. So then we're back to some strategies on how we can actually proactively encourage participation and engagement of the international community. When you first come to any country, for example, the United States, you're kind of on your own, like I was for sure. I didn't have a lot of friends, family. So it's very important, how will you figure out the organizational culture, which is such a complex question. How will you figure out, what your career path is? How will you get these access to these resources? So I'm going to invite the panelists to talk a little bit about community engagement as a tool to achieve that. We'll start now with Dr. Fang.
Thank you, Dr. Mpatra. So I feel like my initial interaction with the community actually started with a co-worker in my lab. When I tried to get my social security number, I don't have a car, and she offered to drive me to that office. And when I tried to buy a little gift for her, and she said, just remember to do the same favor to others who need help. That stuck with me for a long time. And I just feel like whenever I think about what she taught me, it warms my heart. And that's why I was so determined, always go extra mile to help others who actually encounter difficulty and see the struggle. So, to be a member of the community, there are many ways you can join the church, you can join the different ethnicity group. But I feel like you want to step out of the comfort zone and, join the mainstream and, embrace the culture. So that's why for me, actually, I always participate the, different activity in the community, like the parade, like, for the veterans, and just to see how you can contribute as a member. But also for professional society, I feel like many times I saw some international students, it's too far away from me. I need to focus on my work. I need to focus on my paper. I want to tell everyone, dream something bigger beyond just a publication. Respect the law in your institution, like especially for the IP policy, and always talk to your mentor. But be bold to offer your ideas for patent or for certain grant application or for some like startup opportunities. So that's how you integrate with the bigger community and also find out more opportunities for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Reddy, I think there's an interesting question in the Q&A panel, which maybe I'll put you on the spot a little bit and ask you. I think since we're talking about community engagement in the context of community engagement and multiculturalism, this question is interesting. An audience member is asking, as an international researcher, how do you manage microaggression in your team?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. But let me also add some comments to it. I couldn't agree more with what Dr. Feng said. And let me first talk about why community engagement is so important. That partly addresses the microaggression part as well. But and I tell you, I've been engaged in community activities, and I used to find and ask for these. Participating in these type of activities, it gives you an opportunity for cultural integration, to understand the social norms and the customs around you, and also the public outreach, and you have an ability to impact, and also to Dr. Feng's point, it's civic responsibility. You contribute to the community development. I serve on the Chamber of Commerce now for my town, and I was Economic Development Corporation member. I was on several school boards. When I was a grad student, I was in a student senate. There's opportunities on your campuses as the faculty senate, a graduate student, opportunities to serve in community. And the key message there is think globally and act locally, because I think we forget. We are all to Dr. Feng's point. We're so focused. We don't really go out of our labs, and I have been there, I've done that. But I think, changing this, smell the roses, be part of the community, so that the reciprocity enhances when you when you engage in other community activities, and so they embrace you as well. So that is but I think the microaggressions, it depends. That's a topic for a different. In the microaggressions in the classroom, microaggression in our academic communities, and microaggression because of the political interference. And I live in the great state of Texas, where we banned diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, you have to work around different norms. But I think, addressing at the local level, understanding. So that, again, it's a much broader topic than this time allowed, but certainly I'll be happy to engage in conversation offline.
Thank you, Dr. Reddy. I also want to quickly add that, I think that question is an interesting one, because it's not only there for international researchers, right? Microaggressions do have a cultural context, so they basically apply to anyone. It's not only particularly for international researchers. I'm going to move on. Thank you so much, audience, for that participation. I do see some of the questions. I think some of the questions are a little bit more jobs oriented, and the intent for the session today is to actually have a broader conversation on idea principles and opportunities and challenges for the pharmacology workforce in the United States. With that, I'm coming to the pretty much last section that we would like to discuss today, and that will be opportunities for entrepreneurship. And I'm going to call on Dr. Feng to talk about this.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mahatma. So I shared earlier, when I started to build the pharmacy school as the first faculty member and a founding faculty member for pharmacy school, everyone thought I was crazy. And I told them, I do have a dream, maybe I can be a good clinician, but how many people have the opportunity in history to start a pharmacy school, start a university? So I basically shared with my family and my friends, so my coworkers in Albany Medical Center. I told them, if something is possible, you have to believe okay, if I take action, I could be the one, I could be the lucky one. So that's why when I encountered with our founding president for California North State University, I quit my job in East Coast and came to California by myself. And basically, it's extremely humble experience. We have a rental office, and basically everything starts from scratch. That's the part I keep on reminding everyone: take ownership, don't complain, and take action and build the network and fulfill your dream. So I feel everything actually, the difficulty, the suffering you are going through, and don't feel like, oh, life is miserable. Look at this as a very, very valuable life experience, and which actually later will build your stronger personality, will basically make you kind of more adapted to, more challenges in life. At a different stage of the career, for entrepreneurship particularly, 95% of the startup companies end up with, just bankruptcy or just disappear. But I want to tell you, if you don't try, you have 100% basically failure. So that's why, but it's critical to find the right person, people who share the common, goals, as we shared here, the professional goals. If your goal from very beginning is to make money, I can tell you pretty much 99% of the chance you will not be successful. So find people with the goal of social accountability, the goal of moral, and something like you can trust, and then build the, the company or build the venture together. With the difficulty, never give up. I can tell you when we started the pharmacy school, there was a point, pretty much everyone left. I was the only one with the president, and we just rebuilt the team and continue the dream. That's how, everything become like a kind of a reality. But I also want to share with the team, when you build the venture, never just only stay with your comfort zone. And maybe you have your limit. However, when you build a strong team, and the team actually will help you to launch the dream to bigger, direction, to bigger opportunity. So that's a part about resilience. Once you establish, always remember you are from the community and you are here for the community. And remember, be kind, be nice, to give back to the community and support other people to launch their, dream. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Reddy?
Yep, and I echo everything what Dr. Feng said. And one thing to remember, success comes before work only in the dictionary, right? In real life, you need to work a lot harder, and resilience, cultivate resilience, that's the key. Begin with an end in mind. Stephen Covey's, proverbial saying. But the greatest glory in living, as Nelson Mandela once said, is not in never falling, but rising every time you fall. So resilience is the key, right? And to sum it up, and you have to try, and you have to keep trying. You'll miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Michael Jordan, I'm a huge basketball fan and a huge Michael Jordan's fan. But I think, you miss 100% of the shots. If you don't try, it'll never happen. So that's, if I have 30 seconds, I would give a final message is that, my trilogy all my life was 3 words: dream, team, and steam. Dream, you have to have a dream, a lofty goal, because without that, you can never say that my dreams have come true. Second, team. A team is a plan, a plan that is to execute things. And the last is a team, and the last one is a steam. Steam is energy, sustain energy. You may have a dream, you may have a plan, but if you never execute it, you are never going to get it done. So the persistence comes with that, with the steam. So with that, back to you again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reddy. So I will take a few minutes to talk about this as well. I think the reason we put on this slide is basically because many pharmacologists, in fact, almost 99% of scientists, don't think of the opportunities that are available to them in the entrepreneurial space. I think it's very important to recognize that there are lots of things that we do as scientists that are embedded into our professional identities, that are embedded into our skills, that are very different from the skills and the abilities of other people in other professions. So for example, maybe you work in a lab. The first person who thought of how many of us go into the lab every day, spray ourselves with 70% ethanol, and all of a sudden 70% ethanol was in the limelight with all these infections that were around the world. How many of us actually thought of forming a company that was based on 70% ethanol just mixed with glycerine? And you know what I'm hinting at, Purell. So this is a multi-million-dollar company now, came up with a very simple idea. I went to the lab and I kicked myself thinking about, wow, that is really, surely very entrepreneurial. You don't even need to be a PhD to really be able to think of that. There are so many other examples of people who have formed biotechnology companies based on simple ideas and have actually been very, very successful and become big pharma companies. So I think one thing we wanted to talk about is that if you look at the history of international scientists and their contribution to the United States, you will find that about 30 to 40% of the Nobel Prize winners actually are international scientists. So we want to encourage our junior faculty, we want to encourage all the time from graduate students to think a little bit outside of the box, to make most of the opportunities that you have, even in the pharmacology bench space, and to ask yourself the question, how can I extend this beyond just looking for a career as an academician? Is this of interest to me to think about maybe forming a biotech company with a couple of my friends, or investigating the new technologies that we're developing in a lab? And if you do want to do that, what is the right route of doing that? What is the legal compliance that you would need? What is university ownership of the intellectual properties that you're generating? So there's a lot of very interesting spaces here that are full of opportunities, and pharmacologists need to delve into them a little bit more and not just be in the traditional science discovery stage, but also look at scholarship from different lens. So with that, I'm going to actually move forward with questions from the audience. If there are any thoughts that anyone would like to share with the panel or have questions in this space about entrepreneurial opportunities for pharmacologists. I see Cass up.
Hi, I'm just keeping an eye on the Q&A, and maybe I'll backtrack to one of the earlier questions that's relatively general. So for somebody who's currently wrapping up their graduate studies and is looking for a postdoc in the U.S., what do you have some advice on the process of finding that postdoc, ensuring that it's a good match for you, and so on?
Sure, I can get us started, and then I can look towards the other panelists. So I think, first of all, 3 or 4 things right away come to my mind. I think first, it's very important to identify the affinity group, the professional organization, because that will be an excellent resource. It will have many different kinds of resources. For example, ASPED. So if you're a pharmacologist and you want to actually look at job opportunities as postdocs or career pathway mentorship, or you want to know what are the next steps after you do your postdoc, a professional organization like ASPET would be invaluable to you. So I think what I would advise, especially if you're outside of the United States, is to think of becoming a member of an affinity group, a professional organization where you can network. The other thing is, once you are a part of that networking community and you know a lot of people, you begin to know people, ask them for advice. I think that's the one thing I didn't do very well in my life. I learned much later on. You need mentoring. You go out and get the mentors. So the mentors are not going to come to you. You ask people for help. If you don't get the help from the people you thought you might get help from, that's fine. You can always get help from someone else. So I think identifying individuals in the field who can help you, and then using those relationships to actually make connections that can make your life very different. I think that would be the second piece of advice, is identifying mentors, particularly in the areas that you want to work on. Number 3, although it sounds like a lot of words, but it's actually very true. I want to thank Dr. Reddy and Dr. Feng for sharing years of experience. Follow your passion. It's very important to understand that you're the one who's building their career. And if at one point in time you feel that, for example, bench research in some X or Y space is not really your passion, I think it's okay to give yourself the space to turn to, maybe you've done a PhD in a foreign country in a different way, but you want to pursue your postdoc to get different types of skills. I think that's also very important for you to identify, where do you want to drive your career next? I'll end by talking about myself. As I said, I started as a molecular pharmacologist and became a pharmacy educator, and have had to learn a lot in the educational space. So there have been these multiple turning points, and I have tried to find mentors who have helped me drive my career, but also my passion, my almost unquenchable thirst to learn more and more about educational theory and how it can be applied to the pharmacology space. So I've tried to give you a very broad answer. I'll see if Dr. Reddy or Dr. Feng have anything to add.
No, I think you covered it, and I would go back to the professional associations and organizations like AACP, 142 programs in the United States for pharmacy programs. And if you look, if you're a member, you have access to the resources, like what different groups, different focus groups. Same thing with the AAPS. There are a number of different focus groups depending on your specialty area of interest. Then you can connect the network with like-minded folks in your field. So with that, I'll stop.
Dr. Feng, and then we'll go to concluding remarks.
Yeah, I also recommend basically figure out what's your career goal. And if you want to continue your research, based on your PhD or graduate school work, then you want to focus on the research area, identify the experts in the field, and recommend yourself or ask your mentor to recommend yourself, use the connection to continue your career goal. But if you want to, experience something new, then you want to go to that, like professional organization and look at the opportunity and get a recommendation. But also try to look at the successful story of other people and see like, okay, what lessons you can learn, and then, start to design your career plan. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, panelists, if you could please unmute your mics, we will go into very brief 30-second concluding remarks. I'll come at the end. Dr. Fang?
Yes. So I would say, take ownership, take pride, take action, remember your dream, be a good team player, be bold to lead, be kind to serve, to give. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Reddy?
Quick, I'll repeat what I said before, the 3 Ps: passion, purpose, and perseverance. As long as you keep track of those, you will reach whatever goals that you put for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would actually echo their statements and talk about how important it is to be a part of professional organizations, to network, and to actually learn all the steps that we have talked about in terms of acculturation, and learn more about the organizations and institutions where you work. So with that, I'm going to turn this back to Yolan. I hope that this inaugural session was somewhat helpful to most of you. We will be back in January and then in February with other sessions. Thank you to ASPET for this wonderful opportunity. Thank you to the panelists for their time.
And I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Please be sure to complete our survey. When you exit the Zoom session, we also put it in the chat. A recording of today's presentation will be posted. Be sure to share with your colleagues. ASPET's 2024 annual meeting will be held in Arlington, Virginia, May 16th through the 19th. Registration's coming soon. Scan the code to find out more. We have exciting focus sessions. We have parts 2 and 3 of the IDEA series coming up in January and February. Please visit the link in the chat and bookmark the schedule to get more information. And a big thank you to our speakers and our organizers for today's panel. I thought the conversations were awesome. And I want to thank you all for joining us again. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.